Yes, good morning to all my fellow Americans here once again to inform what's happening in the world. Uh, Here requesting the freedom of Roger Stones, a political prisoner who's in prison for no reason. He's innocent. He should be freed. This is the number call. Let's flood the numbers, 202-456-1414. So good morning to all my fellow Americans once again. I'll say. There's a lot of things happening. I want to say not only good morning to all my fellow Americans, but also to, as a member of the DAV, Disabled American Veterans of Puerto Rico, Chapter 11, to all my fellow members, a good morning to. Well, not only free Roger Stones, we need, which is being, there's winds of hope that Venezuela will soon be freed from this tyrannic, evil entity, this communist called Nicolas Maduro, who's had destroyed the countries, just like they did in Cuba, which is another country which I hope we can free from this nightmare, including Nicaragua, North Korea, which I don't know, that's going to be difficult because they're already established too many years and with a lot of power, with a tyrant, with a bloody tyrant. And I hope that China can convert into a free world someday. I doubt it too. At least they have open market, but the oppression is brutal there too. But according to one North Korean who fled over there, he said he felt better there than in his own country. So, well, at least a free market, they can open up a business and they can develop their talents there and gain wealth depending on their hard work and talent. So, well, at least, what can I say? So let's go to the news. There's a lot of things happening. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, stay safe, everybody. I'm in my house like always. In the week, I have to go make some groceries, but I go with my mask. Just like I was saying, put on the mask. I got a mask that I bought. I sent for another one for my wife and I. And I sent one for my brother. I can't send one for everybody because, everybody to its own, but at least my only brother, I bought him one. And the thing is to keep safe and have another pair of gloves. Use one, wash that one, and then use another one. Make sure you sanitize it, and your mask, you sanitize it, and then put it to dry, and then use the other one. That way you have two. One for use, and then when that one is used, put it to wash and sanitize it, and use the other one. Well, here we go. From the religion of peace, like always. Man who stabbed and killed 3 women was practicing Muslim. No indication of mental illness. Well, if there's no mental indication of illness, that means that was an act of terrorism. Why did these people get a pass and they're not executed? I don't mean deported, I mean executed. He kills 3 women, he stabs and killed 3 women. 3 women, couldn't be one, even though it was one still, and he's not executed. Who's behind all this? Is this the Muslim Brotherhood? Or the Nation of Islam? Who defend each other and hate Israel and hate in their own United States? They should be executed. People for less than that have been executed. What are they? What their rears made of gold? Oh God, Jesus Christ. Let me go to the videos. The videos are more explanatory. There's a lot of things the video is going to explain more than that. Than what. But if you want to read, you can read. There's a lot to read. Just go to my blog, Eduardo Rodriguez. I pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay, let me see this one. There's not a video here, but French study of 1,000 plus patients, including seniors, see 98% success rate with hydrochloroquine, azithromycin regimen. I can't pronounce it right. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Azithromycin. So, there's hope. There's some medication. Why stop the economy? It makes no sense. Stopping the economy and getting ourselves into more debt. It doesn't make sense. Open the economy. You just have to force people from now on. Use gloves and use the mask, a cover, a face cover. I mean, the mouth cover, not a face cover. Now liberals are using that as an excuse to, it's okay for Muslim women to use it to cover their whole body, their whole face. You never know what they got underneath. They might be a suicide bomber and blow you the hell up. And it can happen one moment or another. Keep on being stupid. The liberals are really just extremely stupid. I hope I'm not a victim. I hope none of the conservatives are a victim. Just liberals who are that stupid enough to believe that crap, that these people are a religion of peace, when they really are, it's a terrorist organization that should be annihilated from let me put annihilated, it sounds too bad, just deported from the United States. They should leave. They have no business being here. This is a free country. We have our constitution. We have our ways of being. They don't like it. Get out of here. Our main religion is Christianity. If you don't like Christianity, leave. Bye. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now we're going to go to videos. There's a lot of videos here. I'm not going to put all of them, but there's just too many of them. Okay, Mark Dice. I got to put Mark Dice, one of my favorites. Mark Dice just does it with such humor that it's just entertaining.
Pretending that he could be the next president of the United States and decided to drop out of the race. And the Bernie bros are not very happy about it. So we got to keep going, and I'm going to tell you our battle plan this second. tyt.com/go to make sure Young Turks is that progressive voice. And now the light in what will be probably at least 4 years of darkness. It's going to be 4 years of darkness, he says. Well, I can't wait. By the way, as Chuck been pounding his head against the wall in frustration, his forehead just doesn't
He's a
look
Muslim.
right. I think the Babylon Bee has the best take on the situation, noting that Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race as his campaign goals of locking everyone up and destroying the economy have already been achieved. But Crazy Bernie is hedging his bets, because while he said he's dropping out of the race, he's not really dropping out of the race.
On a practical note, let me also say this. I will stay on the ballot in all remaining states and continue to gather delegates. While Vice President Biden will be the nominee, we must continue working to assemble
to destroy America
delegates as possible at the Democratic Convention, where we will be able to exert significant influence over the party platform and other functions.
Oh, so he's going to continue gathering delegates and then use them as leverage to push Joe Biden or whoever the nominee will be farther to the left. Now, if he's going to do that, I wonder if it's going to cause a contested convention, resulting in the superdelegates giving the nomination to somebody other than Biden, like maybe Fredo's brother or even Michael Bloomberg. So far, at the time I'm recording this at least, Obama hasn't endorsed old Joe or even congratulated him on being the supposed presumptive nominee. I really think the DNC party elite are holding out hope that Joe Biden comes down with the coronavirus and has to be replaced by another candidate. But old Joe is doing his best to try to attract the kids to his campaign by praising Bernie Sanders' movement and promising to forgive their student loans too.
Earlier today, my good friend, and he is a friend, Bernie Sanders, announced he was suspending his campaign.
They're buddies.
And he didn't just run a political campaign, he created a movement. And that's a good thing for the nation and for our future. And
Communism.
The next package, this is already being discussed, should include student debt relief for at least $10,000 per person.
Like in communist Cuba, where they can't find a job.
People are already struggling to get by before the coronavirus.
Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders, former campaign press secretary, has decided to drop the charade, tweeting out, quote, on the plus side, I can drop the Democratic from my tweets about why socialism is good. Of course, we all knew that the term democratic socialist was just a smokescreen, and Bernie Sanders is, at his core, a Marxist. Oh, by the way, after Bernie Sanders announced that he was dropping out, the stock market had a pretty good day. The S&P went up almost 100 points, and the Dow went up almost 800. Investors were obviously relieved that a Marxist no longer had the opportunity to get his grubby hands on their money. Here's the headline from USA Today. Stocks rise as Bernie Sanders drops out of the presidential race. Now, sometimes there are coincidences in life, but this is more of a cause and effect. In other news, the World Health Organization has warned of an infodemic. Conspiracy theories, disinformation, and propaganda, they say, are eroding public trust and undermining health officials in ways that could outlast the coronavirus pandemic. Who would be spreading disinformation in such an important time? No pun intended. It's who? The World Health Organization themselves. The tweet that lives in infamy when they parroted Chinese propaganda, claiming that there was no clear evidence of human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus. Speaking of Chinese propaganda, Vice News is spreading it. They happen to speak to one Chinese person who thinks that Wuhan is the safest place on Earth now that the lockdown has been lifted. Of course, I'm sure he's not afraid to get disappeared by the communist government for speaking about what's really going on in Wuhan. Like so many others, I'm sure he's just telling the truth. Don't you worry about a thing. I'll bet market's safest place on planet. But with everything going on in the world, this moron, who's in the White House press corps and was probably mentored by Jim Acosta, decided to ask President Trump about that freak Joe Exotic, star of the Netflix sensation Tiger King.
One of the biggest rating hits of the coronavirus, aside from these briefings, has been a show on Netflix called Tiger King. Yeah. And the man who's the star of this is a former zoo owner who's serving a 22-year prison sentence. He's asking you for a pardon, saying he was unfairly convicted. Your son yesterday jokingly said that he was going to advocate for it, and I was wondering if you've seen the show and if you have any thoughts on pardoning Joe Exotic.
Son, it must be done. I had a feeling it was done. Is that what he said? I don't know. I know nothing about it. He has 22 years for what? What did he do?
Allegedly hired someone to murder an animal rights activist, but he said that he didn't do that. And he was.
You think he didn't do it? Are you on his side?
Are you
recommending a pardon?
No, I'm not advocating it.
As a reporter, you're not allowed to do that. You'd be criticized by these. Would you recommend a pardon?
I'm not weighing in on time.
I don't think you would. I don't think you would. Go ahead. You have a question? I'll take a look. Is that Joe Exotic? That's Joe Exotic.
Take it back to the coronavirus thing.
The audio was a little hard to hear there, but that was Jim Acosta at the end saying he's not weighing in on the Tiger King, and then 1 second later saying he likes Joe Exotic. Oh, I bet you do, Jim. You guys would be two peas in a pod.
The Netflix true crime series Tiger King covers the unusual life of Joe Exotic, former owner of a controversial zoo in Oklahoma. In addition to Joe's legal woes, he's also known for marrying 5 men and dabbling in polygamy.
That's what happens when you give liberals an inch. They take a mile, and now this degenerate is considered to be an American hero. Subscribe to my channel for new here, and instead of just working to stop the spread of the coronavirus, we will work to stop something far more dangerous, the liberal pathogen. And to help spread the word, order yourself a Liberalism Find a Cure shirt from my online store, markdice.com, or click the link in the description below. Or you may enjoy my Obama Trump shirt, since it doesn't look like he really wants to back Biden after all. Like all of my designs, they're available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.
Well, talking about communism, I got one video on this North Korean dissident who defected. And I want to see if I could get that one. There's a lot more, but I'm not going to put all of them because I'm not going to make this a North Korean page. You know, I'm putting their videos. If you want to see it, it's in my blog. I support them, and I want to help them too. But you know, they're going to have to make their own blogs. But then, since not too many people are going to try to help, because you know, we're living in a moment in history that liberals are trying to take over, and they don't want to include the conservative voice in anything. They try to protest them. So what I'm doing, I'll do it for them. But it's going to be in my blog. I'm just going to post one, the most extreme. I mean, the most how you call it? The one that caused the most impact. So let me see if I can find it real quick without taking too long. I don't want to do like I did yesterday. Yesterday it just took too long in trying to find something. Let's try to see if I can find this one. I got on the prison's experience in prison, that terrifies the nation. Okay, I found it. Here we go. I'm gonna put this one video. There's a couple of them more, but like I said, I'm not gonna make this a North Korean dissident page. I'll just post one, and they send me more. What I'll do is I post it in my blog, and it'll be available for whoever wants to hear them.
I knew that if I was caught, I'll be killed. I was born to a Chinese father and North Korean mother. When I was 5, my father abandoned us and left to China and never returned. And lost my mother 6 years later from starvation. So I ended up living with my aunt, and my father sent my stepbrother to take me to China. So I ended up in my father's place in China in 2008. Life in China was so much better. I was so happy because I was living my life in freedom. But the happiness that I felt in China was only temporary because Chinese government didn't recognize North Koreans as refugees and they deported back us to North Korea. The North Korean government wanted me to confess that I was trying to defect to South Korea. But the truth was, I went to China to find my father. I had no desire to defect and back him to understand. I didn't confess, and after being here for weeks, they sent me to labor camp. I was only 15. In the labor camp, I was only allowed to eat 150 kernels of corn a day. One morning, we were marching in our rows on work site, and I saw a dry bucket on the road. I was so hungry that I got on my hands and knees and began picking the rice out of the bucket of rice. I didn't stop eating the bucket of rice until the beating from the guards were too unbearable. 8 months later, I was finally released because I couldn't even stand up or even lift my arm. After spending months trying to regain my strength, I needed to find a job. I began working in a coal mine where I was paid only in rice. Cave-ins were common, and I saw the boys lose their arms and legs as they were smashed into the rocks. And I watched my friend die when the coal cart fell off the track and crushed him. I worked in the mine for about a year, and I realized it was my time to try to escape North Korea again. I knew how hard escaping North Korea would be without any money or food. And I knew that if I was caught, I'll be killed. But those risks overweighed working in the dark coal mine every day until it was my turn to lose a limb or die. One morning, instead of entering the mine, I walked up the path and began running. I spent the next 3 months hiding from the police and waiting for an opportunity to travel to the border town. On a humid day in August, I was lying down on a hillside. And in the distance, I saw a train come to stop, and I realized the train was going to the border town. And as the passengers boarded again, I joined the line. And the guard would ask for my papers and documents, and I lied that my mother had them and that she was already on the train. He nodded, and I headed straight for the train back to hide. I spent the next 2 days hiding from the police. I was almost to the border town when the hands of a guard grabbed the back of my neck and dragged me to a holding cell of the train. I thought about how terrible the labor camp had been. The long days of manual labor, the sleepless night that I spent rewriting the rules, and the constant feelings of hunger. I refused to let that happen again. As the train began to slow down for the next stop, I saw a window was unlocked, so I pushed it open and squeezed out of the small openings. I jumped off the moving train, rolled into a ditch, and began sprinting for some nearby trees. I ran for hours, illegally boarded a second train, and 2 days later, I finally made it to the border town. I walked into the river that divides North Korea and China, and I hid on the tall grass for 8 hours, waiting for the darkness. When I finally thought it was safe, I quietly waded into the water. In the middle of the river, I slipped on a rock and let out a scream. Immediately, a floodlight was on my back, and I heard a guard screaming at me. He said that he would shoot me if I didn't turn back. I knew that I was dead either way. Either he would shoot me, or I would obey and return to the shore, only to be shipped off to the labor camp. I decided not to turn back. Each step took me further away from North Korea and closer to my dream of freedom. And 5 minutes later, I was dripping wet, but finally back in China. I walked in China for 3 days until somebody found me and collapsed in the middle of the road. I was hungry, and I was dehydrated, and I was exhausted. It took me to come to Southeast Asia, where I was processed to come to the United States. I remember looking out the window as the plane began to land in California. I've never dreamed of being on a plane or even coming to America. And as I stepped off the plane, I felt this strange feeling that I've never known before. Safety. I was finally safe, and I didn't need to hide anymore. And I came to America 5 years ago, and in that time, I have learned English, graduated from high school, worked as a sushi chef. My life in America has not been easy, but this is land of opportunity. And I know that if I work hard, I can achieve my dreams. And today, I stand here as the exception. For every story about an North Korean like mine, thousands of others end in tragedy. Sometimes I wonder why it was me. Why was I the one that survived the labor camp and my cellmate starved to death? And why did the coal cart develop the other side of the rails, pressing my friend instead of me? And why did I get a chance to jump off the train and those two other boys didn't? I struggled with these questions for a long time. And the small gift that I can give to those that are not here today is to share my story. Thank you.
The reason why I show this, even though I want my blog to be, well, it's in English anyway, so it's not that I'll stop being I'll stop showing videos in English. But the reason why I show it is because I want people to see what communism is all about, what Bernie Sanders wanted for you, and what the whole Democrat Party wants for you. Because now Joe Biden, who won the nomination, since this extreme communist Sanders stepped down, he's still a danger. And they're all a danger because now Joe Biden is siding with him and is reasoning with his policies, which are socialist, and which finally end up, like Reagan said, under liberalism, destroying America because they will become communists. Socialism and communism is the same thing. People say it's not, but if you look at the title of the ex-Soviet Union, it had the word socialist republic. So, they try to fool you. Well, at least a lot of people can be fooled, but not me. Okay, let's put this one here. I want you to see Pelosi. She's a trip. Another evil
This is a
communist.
news alert. Nancy Pelosi offers absolutely no hope for Americans, proving why the Democrats are worthless. I'm Josh Bernstein, filling in for Gary French.
That's true. They are worthless.
Now, before I get to that story, folks, remember next news is being heavily censored. Been taken out of suggested videos. So do us a favor. Make sure you're still subscribed. You're getting your notifications. And, of course, if you're new to the channel, please check out the newsletter in the description below. Now, let's get to your story here. According to Tyler Clifford from CNBC News Reports, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Thursday told CNBC's Jim Cramer that it's not clear when America could reopen for business, despite, of course, some optimism from not only the White House that it could open within the next month, but many other officials. When asked if the shops could open up in May, she decided against offering a hopeful timeline. Go ahead and roll this clip.
You are a natural optimist. If we can get this additional money, which I think is certainly warranted, and we get some breaks in science, do you think, is it possible to say, I know you don't want to put a date on it, but we can't stay closed. Is it possible that May, could enough people in May, enough younger people, enough people who've already had it, enough people who've tested, that we can get the country moving? I'm getting worried about not a recession, but a depression.
Well, now we could have a depression because so many people are out of work, and that's why we have to get the system really energized and working. Let's get out those unemployment checks. Let's get out those direct payments. Let's get these loans freed up. Let the banks be the friends to this whole system that they are. This is an era of entrepreneurship like none we've ever seen before because of the challenge to small businesses. Let's recognize what that is. That optimism is to America. But I don't think anybody can tell you a date unless we get a time. But let's be hopeful that it will be soon.
Earlier that day on CNBC's Squawk on the Street, Cramer posed the exact same question to Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, who then, he said, believed that it is possible to get the economy rolling again as soon as this May. The Trump administration is currently making sure that businesses have the liquidity that they need in order to operate their businesses in the interim step. The U.S. economy was effectively put on hold last month as the federal and state governments hunkered down on the coronavirus epidemic by closing non-essential businesses and ordering social distancing mandates, and in the process, of course, removing our freedom of privacy and our rights as well. The move was made to slow the infection rate. Well, yeah, maybe it was, but Americans, we do have, we do have an immune system as well, and hopefully we're going to open up very soon because we need to open up this economy. Shutting us down like this is doing more harm than good. We can't protect ourselves from every little thing. It's almost like the government has become helicopter parents here. It is true that it is an infectious disease, but so are many others. And we've got to get this economy going. Hopefully they're going to open up all states that have less than a 1% infection rate and open up those businesses, do it safely, of course. And then, eventually, hopefully the hot spots that are affected more will be able to open up as well. But in the meantime, well, we're sitting here with 17 million people, 18 million people that have lost their jobs already. In in about 30 days. Pretty crazy stuff, folks. So hopefully we'll get back to work. Hopefully you're all doing great and are safe at home. And, just keep praying that we heal from this and we hold the people that did this accountable. And there is no question that China lied, people died, and they need to be held accountable. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. Give us a like, give us a share. Continue to watch the Next News Network. I'm Josh Bernstein, filling in for Gary.
Like I said, there's no reason to stop the economy. I know our president is doing his best. He's just,
Thanks for sticking around.
to me, he's great.
The coronavirus has us all stressed out, making us age even faster.
To me, he's doing great. I know he can't do the impossible. He's human. He has to deal with the communists in the Democrat Party, which is we still call this the Democrat Party, which is officially now the CPUSA. And I know it's not easy for him. I know it's very strenuous. It's hard. And practically, what else can he do? But I say, well, I'm suggesting, President, with all due respect, open up the economy. What we have to be is enforce people to cover their mouths. Cover their mouths and use gloves or use these masks, these masks, these protection. From now on, it's going to have to be like that because you never know. There's not a sign that says, "Look, I carry the virus." There's nothing that you can point at a person. So we're in the free world. Well, enforce the mask and the gloves. You want to come into work, you got to use a mask. There's reusable masks. There's masks that are breathable and reusable. You don't have to spend an arm and a leg. I bought one for my wife and I sent for another one, which is a lot more, covers more. And when I mean covers, it goes all the way up to here, and then all the way to the back. The other one is like around up to here, it covers like this part only. And I decided to get one a little bit more better. And besides, one I can wash it, use sanitize it when I get home, and then have it dry, and then use the other one. They could do the same thing. Enforce that law. You're gonna come into work, you gotta use it. You're gonna go into a nightclub, you gotta use it. You're gonna go into a theater, you gotta use it. You're gonna go into the postal service, you gotta use it. You're gonna go to a supermarket, you gotta use it. It's gonna have to be like that. And whoever doesn't want to comply, don't let them get in. No, you're not allowed to get in. Oh, as a matter of fact, it'd be a security for the business. Another reason. Okay, I did a mistake there, but not a security for businesses. But if the person is using a mask and he's going to go into a pharmacy or any kind of store, doesn't matter which one, or theater or nightclub or everywhere, just have a camera, have an identification, and make sure the person identifies himself, showing his face in the camera before he goes in. So look, put your mask down for a second, for a couple of seconds. And have it register his fingerprint on the computer or something. This is technology. It's going to cost, but it's safer. Have to put the fingerprints. Okay, you have no background of criminal background, so then you can come in. Okay, now you can come in. But at least you're identified. Because even if the person has a criminal background, let's say he's not armed, he's trying to reform himself, okay, but at least we identify you. Anything that happens, you're going to go. 3 strikes and you're in for good. So, there's ways of doing things. Okay, let's see this one here.
This is a news alert. Too good. CNN discovers that there's a price to pay for not airing President Trump's pressers. I'm Josh Bernstein, filling in for Gary Franchi in the Next News Network. Now, before we get to that story, folks, remember Next News has been heavily censored, been taken out of suggested videos, so do us all a favor. Make sure you're still subscribed, you're getting your notifications, and of course, if you're new to the channel, please check out the newsletter in the description below. Now, let's get to your story here. According to Matt Vespa from Town Hall Reports, there is a price to pay for refusing to air President Trump's daily Wuhan coronavirus pressers. CNN discovered that today as Vice President Mike Pence and his office has barred members of the coronavirus task force from appearing on the Chinese news network in the past week, according to their own report. The contention appears to stem from the Chinese news network not carrying portions of the daily White House task force briefings, including some of the question and answering sessions with the top medical members, including Dr. Deep State Anthony Fauci and Dr. Deep State Deborah Birx. After President Trump leaves the podium, the Chinese news network frequently cuts out of the White House briefings to discuss and fact check what the president has said.
when you guys cover the briefings with the health officials, then you can expect them to be back on your air, a Pence spokesperson told the Chinese news network. If the Chinese news network wants to interview key players, well, then they can simply resume broadcasting the press briefings. It's just that simple. Jim Acosta is not an expert. Stephen King is not an expert. It's truly ridiculous that after all, these liberal media whiners are talking about lack of press briefings. They finally get them, and now they won't even air them. It's because the briefings has boosted up President Trump's approval ratings, because there is no longer a filter and people are able to see the true leadership that he possesses. And they don't like that because they can't put a spin on it, or they can't try to hide it, or they can't edit it, or whatever it is tactic that they do to try to make the president look bad. So again, this is an anti-Trump network working to remove President Trump from office. They've been doing that since day one. And, they're beholden to the Chinese. Think about that. You have a quote-unquote American, and I use that term loosely, an American broadcasting network. And I would also put in MSNBC, or we'll call it MSNBG, as in Xi Jinping. But these two networks in particular, and of course the rest of the alphabets really, they are supposed to be America first. But they've never been America first because they hate President Trump. So therefore, they're rooting for the virus. They're rooting for the pandemic to continue, and they are rooting for the people that perpetrated this against us, which is the Chinese. That's why they're defending the Chinese. That's why when President Trump rightfully called it a Chinese virus, they immediately freaked out because they love communism. It's as simple as that. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. Give us a like, give us a share. Continue to watch the Next News Network. I'm Josh Bernstein, filling in for Gary Franchi. If you want to know more about me,
Let's go to
check out
another
the
one.
Josh Bernstein Show.
There's
on
one I want to
YouTube.
find, see if I
And
can
now also
find it.
streaming
Next News
on
Network is a great source of
on the next
news. I recommend it
Thank
highly.
you for watching that report. Security.
They're short, they go to the point, and they have a lot of videos. It doesn't get boring because there's just a lot of. There's another one that's not boring, and he is very, very good. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick. Talking about boring, I don't want to bore anybody here today, so let me see if I can find it quick. Oh. Let me see if this is the one I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find. Okay, there's another one. Nope. Not him either. Remember, there's a couple of other videos. Okay, I think it's this one. Okay, yes, I found him. This guy's also great. That's a little bit long, but he's great. Not too long.
Be talking about on today's video. We're going to take a look.
I recommend him a lot. I think he's from the Blaze, if I'm not mistaken.
And I'll give you a hint. It's for the
He's
same
a doctor.
reasons that is poll
You got
number
his name?
surge during the impeachment circus. And it's a lesson that the mainstream Marxist media has yet to learn. You're going to absolutely love it. Greetings, everyone. Dr. Steve here. A blessed Good Friday to all of you. I'm Eastern Orthodox, so we'll be having our Good Friday commemorations next week. But I certainly hope you're all safe and sound and that you do have a blessed day today. Now, before we take a look at Trump's surging poll numbers, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's RateFamily.com. Now, one of the things that we have to deal with, unfortunately, is the simple fact that all of us leave behind final expenses such as funeral costs, medical bills, and other debts. In fact, I don't know if you know, but the average funeral costs between $8,000 to $9,000. So what that means is that having no insurance when you die can leave your loved ones with a a huge bill to deal with, and obviously none of us want that. But you can take control of your family's destiny today and have the satisfaction that they'll be financially taken care of. So make sure to click on the link below and visit greatfamily.com and get a free quote from them. No waiting periods, 100% benefits. Even if you've been turned down before, they guarantee coverage for everybody, no matter the situation. You heard that right. They guarantee coverage for everyone, no matter the situation. So don't wait. Click on that link below and visit greatfamily.com or simply give them a call at 1-855-919-RATE. You'll be glad that you did. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Some good news. A number of poll numbers have been coming out of late, showing President Trump with record approval numbers. The latest Fox News poll found that 49% of registered voters approve of President Trump. That's the highest approval rating from Fox since Trump became president. His disapproval has also dipped below the 50% mark, which is the first time in a Fox poll. Fox polls, for whatever reason, are notoriously negative towards Trump, maybe because Chris Wallace and Juan Williams are in charge of conducting them. just kidding. But I have no love lost for either one of those left-wing activists disguised as journalists. The Fox poll also found that 51% of voters backed Trump's response to the coronavirus. Also of interest is that Joe Biden's 9-point advantage that he had over Trump in the Fox poll from a couple of weeks back has completely evaporated. They're now both tied at 42% each. Now, this Fox News poll corroborates with another CNBC survey that found that a record number of voters approve of President Trump's handling of the economy during this entire coronavirus period. His approval numbers rose to 52%, which again are the highest of his presidency according to CNBC's previous polls. Trump's overall approval, according to CNBC, was at 46%, which again was the highest of his presidency according to CNBC's numbers. Even the New York Times has had to admit, although through cringe teeth, that Trump's approval ratings are currently at an all-time high for him. Their polls are showing him at 49%, and this, of course, is corroborated by a number of polls of late that all show a huge surge of support for Trump. The latest Gallup poll has Trump's approval numbers in the stratosphere during this whole coronavirus crisis. The Gallup poll that Trump's approval rating for handling the crisis stands at an astonishing 60%. 94% of Republicans approve, 60% of independents, and even nearly 30% of Democrats. Trump's overall approval rating stands at 49%, which ties with his highest approval rating from January this year. Now, this Gallup poll came out on the exact same day that a Monmouth University poll was released that showed that more Americans approve of President Trump's response to the coronavirus pandemic than the media's reaction to it. And this is what's driving the media so absolutely nuts right now. The Monmouth poll found that 50% of the public approved of President Trump's behavior during this entire crisis, while only 45% approved of the way the mainstream Marxist media was behaving, which is just, I mean, if you think it through, it's absolutely hilarious. We noted in an earlier video that public trust in the media continues to erode during this crisis. According to Statista.com, 47% of Americans said that they did not trust the mainstream media's coronavirus information. So the Monmouth poll is showing similar results as well. 60% of Republicans, 52% of independents are saying that the media has done a very bad job in their coverage of the media. Fake news. Now, of course, the mainstream Marxist media, the left-wing activists disguised as journalists, the hecklers disguised as reporters, they just can't believe these poll numbers. They're literally besides themselves. I mean, look at Joe Scarborough's having a stroke over at MSNBC. He's literally going insane over the fact that Trump's poll numbers are just so emphatically stubborn. But in many respects, they only have themselves to blame in all of this. Do you remember, back during the whole impeachment process, the media simply couldn't fathom how President Trump's poll numbers jumped through the roof as a result of the impeachment circus. Do you remember that? And the funny thing is, we on this channel, we predicted his numbers would surge. We predicted on this channel that impeachment was going to blow up in the Democrats' face. And why was that? Because of the anthropological principle that external threats breed internal solidarity. external threats breed internal solidarity. The Democrats and the mainstream Marxist media teamed up to take out Trump, which in turn galvanized his base like nothing else to come out and not only defend him from the threat, but they want to turn out and defeat that threat. And that's exactly what happened. Not only did Trump garner a 97% approval rating among Republicans, the highest ever recorded, even higher than Reagan, not only did he end up with a near 100% support of Republicans, but we have on record a number of Republicans right now ready to run for office right alongside Trump. And together they're generating more enthusiasm than anything perhaps we've ever seen in a political contest. And that enthusiasm from the whole impeachment fiasco continues right now. A recent ABC Washington Post poll shows a radical discrepancy between the amazing enthusiasm for Trump and the frankly embarrassing lack of enthusiasm for Biden. 53% of Trump supporters say they're very enthusiastic about supporting the president, while get this, only 24% of those backing Biden were enthusiastic about it. Now, I think this is a hangover from the impeachment circus just a couple of months back. And that hangover continues precisely because the media, the mainstream Marxist, now officially pro-Chinese propaganda media, hasn't learned that the more they bash Trump, the more they generate and solidify his support. The more they mock and ridicule and scorn Trump and his supporters, the more they guarantee a surge in voter enthusiasm for Trump. That's why the mainstream Marxist pro-Chinese propaganda media are so pathetic in all of this. They think they're so enlightened. They think they're so smart. They can't even see how they're contributing to the very rise in Trump's poll numbers that they so despicably detest and decry. I mean, it's really sad if you think about it. So with the media, the mainstream Marxist media having failed to learn their lesson, and with the death rates over this virus, as tragic as they are, falling far below what the models were predicting, I think we can expect Trump's approval numbers to go up even higher in the days and weeks ahead, which we'll certainly be keeping an eye on, of course. Now, before you go, you'll definitely want to check out my latest video on the collapse, the utter collapse of the mainstream Marxist pro-Chinese media as their advertising revenue is all but disappeared. It's going to absolutely make your day. So make sure to click on the link and I'll see you over there. God bless.
This guy's one of the greatest. He goes to the point. He's very, very entertaining in his mannerism and informative. That's why I point him out as one of the best. Dan Bongino's great. The only thing is last long. You know, I just recommend him. Go to this. First in the morning, the first person I listen to is Dan Bongino. That's how good he is. Okay, I'm gonna stop here because there's a lot more, but I'll let you guys go to my blog and see the rest. It's all posted in my blog. Remember, Walter Rodriguez, I pledge allegiance to the flag. So, like I always say, Donald Trump, God bless you. I always pray for you. I pray for your family. I pray for Mike Pence and his family. I always tell God, God bless my country eternally. I also pray for Israel, and I always say I stand with God and Israel eternally. And also I pray for the freedom of Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, North Korea, and China. And I pray for the Christians and non-Muslims who are being tortured, persecuted by this evil, criminal ideology. It's not a religion. It's a criminal organization. So God bless you all. Keep safe. And until the next time, bye-bye.